welcome back to another Film Geek movie spotlight. And today I'm talking about the 2005 film Constantine.
Things I've beaten. Things most people never even heard of. And now I'm gonna be done in by this.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Constantine is directed by Francis Lawrence and it's starring Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz, Tilda Swinton, Gavin Rossdale, Shia LaBeouf, and Djimon Hounsou. Supernatural exorcist and demon hunter John Constantine must fight the forces of hell to save the world. Constantine is based off of the comic book that was published by DC Comics in 1988. The character John Constantine, however, first appeared in the pages of Swamp Thing #2 in 1985. Later on in 1993, the comic book Hellblazer was handed over to Vertigo Comics, a much more darker and mature subsidiary of DC Comics. Hellblazer then became Vertigo's longest-running series, lasting 300 issues and ending its run in 2013. Constantine was released February 8, 2005, and it grossed $230 million worldwide on a $100 million budget. However, only $75 million of that was domestically, making the film a pretty good-sized financial flop in the United States. Critics are also divided on the film, and it's sitting on Rotten Tomatoes at a 41%. However, the film has garnished quite the cult following over the years, and it's currently sitting on Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score of 71%. So what I like about this movie? Okay, so first off, there is a lot of differences from the comic book and the movie. Now, the thing I always do is with movies like this is I kind of detach myself from the comic book and the movie because honestly the movie's really good as long as you just don't compare it to the comic book. I'm not saying that the comic book is better, it's just that they're two different monsters. There's a few differences, some subtle and some blaring. Some of the differences, like for instance in the comic book Hellblazer, John Constantine's from England, and in the movie Constantine he's Keanu Reeves and he lives in LA. So you see, there's one. Also too, in the movie Constantine, he comes off as more of a demon slayer, exorcist kind of guy, and in the comic book, he's more of a sorcerer. Also too, there is some differences in his powers and things he can do and yada yada yada. You see where I'm going. The movie itself is really a departure from the comic book. It's more of like a groundwork for the movie rather than being a very solid adaptation of the source material. That doesn't mean that it doesn't respect the source material, it just made it a bit more palatable for film goers. Look at me using fancy words like palatable. The visual effects in this film are also outstanding. This movie was made in 2005 and these effects still hold up today. One of my biggest complaints with CGI is the way that it doesn't really feel like it's part of the world it's in. This movie does a pretty good job of that, even with it being an older film. So the CGI in this movie looks great, the effects look great, the cinematography is really good in this film. One of the things I really love is when Constantine goes to hell. I really dig the look of hell in this film, and also too, one of my favorite characters in this film is Lucifer, and he's probably one of my favorite interpretations of the devil that I've ever seen in film, and he's maybe on the screen 5 minutes. That's how good it is. So if you're in the mood for a solid action horror film that's loosely based off of a comic book, then you can currently find Constantine on our good friends at Tubi TV, streaming for free with commercials. If you don't want to watch the commercials, don't worry, you can rent it out there on pretty much all of the rental services: YouTube, Google Movies, Amazon Prime, and Vudu. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of another Film Geek video. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications so you know when I put one of these videos up, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's another thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.